A man who has no one who loves him must be a bad man. Because if he would be a good man, he would have a girlfriend or a wife or both.
Useful Thoughts Video Podcast.
I am a single man. I've never been married, I don't have any kids, but I have a dog and I live alone with my dog. I have been left behind as a single man many times in various social contexts. I've been witnessing that couples have it so much easier. I also witnessed couples breaking up and dealing with the remains of their relationships. That can get pretty ugly. When it comes to jobs, single men are always left behind. Let's say 3 men apply for a job. One is a single man, one is married, and one is divorced. All 3 men apply for the same job. Let's assume they are all equally qualified. They are all motivated the same way to do their job, and they are around the same age, have the same amount of work experience. Let's assume they are just very similar except for their relationship situations. I don't know whether relationship status actually matters for the job, but people are being asked for their relationship status in every application. It seems to be important whether somebody fucks someone or not. It's actually weird because sexuality is the last thing you want to talk about in your workplace. But you are being asked if you are in a sexual relationship when you apply for a job. All right. I'm well aware that just because your relationships I'm well aware that just because your relationship status says you're single doesn't mean you don't sleep with anyone. But yeah, I guess when you are single, people assume that you don't have any sexual relationships. At least not a committed one. And that is because you are, for some reason, obviously unable for a... And that is obviously because you are just unable for joining a committed relationship. And that is certainly because you are unable to qualify for a committed relationship. You must be a very bad man. It is not natural to not be in a relationship, at least not once you've turned 30 or even 40 like me.
Something must be wrong with that guy. He's 40 and single, he doesn't have any kids. I don't think he's the ideal candidate for the job. He must be a psychopath.
Yeah, it is what it is. Being single as a middle-aged man makes people suspicious. There might be many reasons for a man to not be in a committed relationship, but most of them are associated with bad habits or negative traits. A man who has no one who loves him must be a bad man. Because if he would be a good man, he would have a girlfriend or a wife or both. This is society's logic. No one will ever ask you about your background story. For some reason, gay men, on the other hand, are not expected to be in committed relationships. Why is that? Being gay, you weren't even allowed to marry, so it is not common for gay people to be married. But in the view of society, it's also not common for gay people to be in a monogamous committed relationship. I mean, come on. My cousin is gay. She has been in a relationship with the same woman for, I think, almost 20 years. But it seems that from a heterosexual's perspective, no matter if it's a woman or a man, being single as a gay man or woman is normal. It's so weird. And when a man in his 40s is single, they assume this man has an alcohol problem, credit card debt, is mentally ill, is a sociopath, or just physically too unattractive to get a girl. But nevertheless, all these assumptions, may they be true or not, they have absolutely nothing to do with your skills, with your professional skills. They have nothing to do with your quality as a working man or woman. And by the way, actually none of these mentioned assumptions must be true to be single. A man could just be asexual, which means he's just not interested in sex, because this man thinks sex smells bad and it's sweaty. Fair enough. Let people do what people do and don't force anybody to do anything he or she doesn't want. A single man could just enjoy his life as a single and enjoy having sexual encounters now and then without any strings attached or hidden catch. No strings attached, just free love. And why not have multiple spouses at once? I had multiple spouses once, but it was a disaster. I cannot recommend it. You must be a very, very good liar. And once you started having feelings for somebody, even if it's just feelings of casual encounters, you feel like a liar. So I'm a monogamous person. I decided that polygamy is nothing for me. Well, but being a playboy and having polygamous relationships and being free and going on vacation alone is not appreciated very much by society. Especially not by people who have spent their last years or decades in a boring, monogamous relationships with the same wife every day. They hate you for your freedom. They hate you for your girlfriends. For them, you are a bad man because they are jealous, because you have something they have not and probably will never have again in their lives. Well, let's get back to the job interview. The divorced man has slightly better chances than the single man. Why? Because on the one hand, he failed to maintain his committed relationship. On the other hand, he at least tried. And he has been proving that he's able to perform such a relationship at least for a short period of time. Well, that's better than nothing. It's better than a single man. It is never asked whose fault it was that the marriage ended, but it doesn't matter anyway. A divorced man with no kids, and this is important, with no kids, has similar bad chances than a single man. But a divorced man with kids has much better chances to get a job because he has these kids he needs to care for. He has this alimony to pay and so on. He has some responsibility in his life and he needs to work for his ex-wife and children. What a life. Children are worth being saved, but not so is a single man without kids.
We are so sorry, but we had to give the job to the other guy because the other guy has kids.
I've been hearing this many times. I've also been hearing,
I'm sorry, we had to give the job to the woman because she's a woman.
what argument is this? So they didn't say we gave the job to that female person who applied because she was just the better candidate. They said we gave her the job because she is a woman. Having kids draws so much energy from you that I cannot understand why it would be an advantage for the company to hire a woman. They are certainly not as focused at their work because there's so many things in their back of their heads going on. When do I need to pick the kids up? What do I make for dinner? What do I need to shop on the way home? Blah, 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 blah. If you don't have kids and don't need to care for all these things, you can just sit in the office and do your work. Wouldn't that be a much better candidate? So to sum it up, if a single man, a divorced man, and a married man with kids would apply for the same job, in 99% of the cases, the married man with children would get the job. But all of these three men will not get a job if a fourth category of persons would apply to the job, namely a young and beautiful and single woman. Human resources will consider if working experience is really that important for the job. Human resources might also consider if it's really important to give a man the job. Shouldn't we have more women than men in our company, like 51%? she could be the 1% missing. Well, so much about the chances in the job market. In the next episode, I will talk about advantages and disadvantages of single men in the private life with friends and family and vacations and all this stuff. So make sure to subscribe to the channel to see me again. I hope that was somehow entertaining, amusing, or even giving you some new useful thoughts on your way. And that's it. Thanks for listening.